Hello and welcome to another 9-minute Bible study. Our starting point, the book of Acts, chapter 16, verse 35. Let's set the stage. The day before, the Apostle Paul, in doing a great deed, he cast a demon out of a woman who had a spirit of divination. The reaction of the men who controlled the woman, they had Paul beaten and thrown in jail. During the course of that night, the Apostle Paul, he sang praises to the Lord, worshiping the Lord. What happens? Big monster earthquake, jail cell doors open, chains fall off. Paul, Silas do not leave. Jailer sees that they're still there. He accepts Jesus as his Lord and Savior. Now, as we start this 9-minute Bible study, Paul and Silas are still in Philippi jail. It's the next morning. And the people who are in charge, the rulers, they call Paul and Silas out of the jail cell. Now I can imagine before they met. So what are we going to do with these prisoners? Oh, they spent the night in jail. We beat them bad in the middle of the night. We'll just let them go and they'll never bother us again. What they do not realize is that the Apostle Paul is a Roman citizen, and as a Roman citizen, he had certain legal rights. Now, understand this. We are believers in Jesus. There are going to be times when we're going to be persecuted. There are going to be times when it looks like a huge misjustice is taking place. Just because we are believers in Jesus does not mean we forfeit the legal rights that we have. Notice that the Apostle Paul, wherever he goes in the book of Acts, he will demand that his legal rights are honored. He will stand and say, hey, if I'm being punished for Christ, that's one thing. But it's going to be with the legal process being followed correctly. Paul had rights as a Roman citizen. Because he had rights as a Roman citizen, it was upon him to insist that those rights were honored. As believers in Jesus, we have certain legal rights depending on where you live. I understand that there will be some watching this outside the United States. Wherever you are, in all likelihood, you have legal rights at all time. We are to make sure that we defend ourselves using the legal rights given to us. Jesus has no problem with this. If anything, this is going to open the door for more and more people to hear about Jesus. So, yes, we have legal rights as believers. We are to insist that those legal rights are followed. We might not be part of the world from a spiritual point of view, but from a legal rights point of view, we still have them. Are we together on this? Now let's continue with verse 35. And when it was day, the magistrate sent the sergeant, saying, let those men go. And the keeper of the prison told this, saying to Paul, the magistrates have sent to let you go. Now therefore depart, and go in peace. But Paul said unto them, they have beaten us openly uncondemned, being Romans. Paul is a Roman citizen. As a Roman citizen, he has legal rights. He's going to insist those rights are respected, and have cast us into prison. And now do they thrust us out privately? Nay, verily, no. But let them come themselves and fetch us out. In other words, you're going to follow the rule of law. You didn't follow it last night. Today, you're going to follow it. Let's continue. Verse number 38. And the sergeants told these words unto the magistrates, and they feared when they heard that they were Romans. Meaning what? These guys, the magistrates, they knew they were in deep, deep trouble. As a city in the Roman Empire, they were to honor and respect the citizens of Rome. They had not done that. They never even bothered to ask Paul and Silas if they were Roman citizens. Now they have committed a crime themselves. It was a crime in the eyes of the Romans to mistreat those who were Roman citizens. The Roman government would come down on the side of the citizens. The only thing that these people are going to be blessed about is simply that Paul and Silas do not insist that they're punished for this, but they did let them know that what they did was wrong. Let's keep going. And the sergeants told these words unto the magistrates, and they feared when they heard that they were Romans. And they came and besought them, and brought them out, and desired them to depart out of the city. In other words, they were going to give them a nice royal escort out of the city, apologizing every step of the way. These men, they blew it big time. Now they're going to pay the price for it. And they went out of the prison and entered into the house of Lydia. And when they had seen the brethren, they comforted them or helped them and departed. So, Paul, Silas, they returned to the church, no doubt giving testimony about what happened, calming everyone's nerves, giving them final instructions before they head on to Thessalonica. These believers in Jesus strengthened and prepared for what was going to happen next. Now, we know what happens to the church of Philippi. In the letter to the Philippians, this church will be strong and it will be one, even though in deep poverty, will become the financial source of all the churches that would be founded in Greece, in Ephesus, later on in Jerusalem, and then way later on, Paul when he was in jail in Rome. How solid was the Philippi church? Paul built a church that was the financial giving backbone for all the churches in the region. Nothing would have happened in the rest of Greece and Macedonia and Ephesus. No blessing to the church in Jerusalem, and no prison epistles without the Apostle Paul going to Philippi first. According to natural logic, you don't go to a poor area first, but the Spirit led him to Philippi first. He established a church that would become literally the backbone for the ministry of the Lord in that region. We need to be appreciative of the Philippi church because no telling what the history of Christianity would have been had Paul not went there. But because the Spirit sent Paul to Philippi first, we have been blessed beyond measure ever since. And we'll pick up with this in our next lesson.